Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day. Guys, in today's video, we are diving into a high-value topic for anyone struggling with the Chimera clan boss. I'm gonna give you my favorite revivers on a tier list. And yeah, so the Chimera hits very hard, hits weird sometimes, and losing champions is almost guaranteed mid-fight. So you definitely want to bring a reviver into your team, right? So today we are breaking down the best revivers, which ones allow you to do the most trials, right? But before we jump into my list, let's answer the most important question. What, makes a reviver actually a good reviver for Chimera? Now, obviously, you want instant or AoE revives, preferably. Single target revives do work too, but can be a little bit more problematic. Some of the revivers that have a single target revive are still very, very good. But besides the reviving, they have to do other stuff too, right? That's kind of like the main thing for every role in a Chimera team. If they do multiple things, right? If they are a debuffer and a reviver, or a damage dealer and a debuffer, then they instantly become more valuable because they cover two different roles in one champion. Now, if your reviver brings turn meter boost as well and healing, or if he has, damage mitigation from buffs, shields, or debuffs on the Chimera, so the more your reviver does besides the reviving, the better he becomes for Chimera. Now, obviously, that also depends on your team, on your roster, which reviver fits in your team the best, right? That depends on the other components as well. Now, one of the best revivers, no doubt about it, that is Galathier. He has everything you ask for. He has buffs, AoE revive on a 4-turn cooldown. He has block debuffs, he has a heal, he has turn meter boosting on the A1 and turn meter boosting on the A2 as well, a cleanse, and then he's also receiving less damage, so is relatively tanky if you build him with resistance, right? So he's very hard to deal with, very hard to kill, and is just the perfect example for a Chimera reviver. Also, if you swap the forms, you have block active skills, you have buff removal, which can be quite handy sometimes, and then you also have two buffs and debuffs, increase accuracy and decrease resistance. And decrease resistance is actually very unique, like not a lot of champions can do this, and having this debuff on the reviver is very, very valuable. So yeah, he's definitely, the best reviver, the #1 spot for Chimera revivers. And yeah, that's pretty much it about this video. We can stop right here. He's the best and all the others are trash. No, I'm just joking. Obviously, there are also other options that are quite similar to him. The biggest or the most important thing that he does is obviously, besides the revive, the cleanse and the block debuffs. And there are a few champions that can do the same thing. For example, we have Pytheon. Same affinity, and he has a similar skill, right, with a buff removal, debuff removal, and a block debuffs on the same skill, right? A 3-turn cooldown. Then he heals with the A1, and he has an AoE revive with a strengthen buff. So all of these things are pretty good to have on a reviver. He has the heals, he has the cleanse, he has the block debuffs, and that is very good, right? So he's similar to Galathier's first form. Obviously, he doesn't provide the turn meter boosting, he doesn't provide the debuffs and the increased accuracy, but still, he's similar in that regard. Then we also have Elva, which is probably the best replacement for a Galathier. She has that cleanse as well on a 3-turn cooldown. But not only is she buffing block debuffs, she's also buffing increased speed, right? So having a reviver providing this buff is also very, very important, or can be very, very important for your comp, and opens up other possibilities. The only downside with Elva is that she has a single target revive. If she revives a target ally, she buffs increase defense and increase attack on that ally for 2 turns, which is pretty cool. On top of that, she also has heals, the continuous heals, perfect veil, and a speed aura. And this can make a big difference for your Chimera team if you have a speed aura, which is not that easy to get. There are a few champions that are good for Chimera that have a speed aura, but having it on your reviver is very nice. Another champion that is a lot of times overlooked, that is also, pretty similar to the ones that I just mentioned, is Raka. So Raka is a Void Legendary champion from the Orcs faction, and she has a AoE revive, and then after the revive, she will place the block debuffs, right? But if there are no dead allies, you can still just place the block debuffs. So it's a very interesting skill. It's a 4-turn cooldown, but still you have the block debuffs here, and you have a cleanse on the A2, as well as a increased attack and a shield buff. So as we all know, there is a trial where we have to absorb damage with the shield buff, and she's placing that, right? So not only is she removing debuffs, she's also covering the shield buff for that trial, and she's also providing the increased attack, which is pretty amazing. On top of that, she has turn meter boosting right here. At the start of each turn, fills the turn meters of all allies with 10%. So that is a big advantage. And then also she places continuous heals and has a heal on the A1, as well as a speed aura. So Raka is actually very, very good and can be the missing part that you need to complete the important trials. So those 4 revivers are very similar in what they do. Obviously, some of them are doing it better than the others, but in general, if you're looking for a reviver that has a cleanse and block debuffs, those 4 are very decent. Obviously, Galathier is the best one. Then we have 2 revivers that have been in the game for a very, very long time, and one of them is Duchess. Duchess is also underrated for Chimera. She's providing the block debuffs, increase attack, AoE revive, the veil. On top of that, she has a damage mitigation on the passive, so doesn't matter how the Chimera will attack, the damage will be reduced because most of the attacks are AoE, not all of them, but most. And then she also has a speed aura, which is quite nice. So if you're running an attack-based champion that is not self-buffing, she's a very nice fit for that team. If you are running a defense-based champion, for example, a Harima, I did that a lot, then I mostly used Siphi. Siphi is I like to compare her to Duchess, but I think she's a little bit better. She's providing 3 different buffs on one skill, which is quite amazing. Block debuffs, increase defense, and increase speed. On top of that, when she revives, which is just a single target revive, but still, when she does it, she's also buffing increase attack and increase crit rate. And you kind of need increased crit rate for one of the trials on the Ram form. And the way that I did this sometimes was to, kill my nuker and then revive that nuker with increased attack and increased crit rate. And then my nuker was hitting hard enough to complete, the middle trial where you have to deal 750k damage. He would kill himself, but still I got that trial done that way. So pretty cool skill, actually. Very underrated. Also, you revive with a full turn meter, so the turn is almost guaranteed. And then you also have heals, right, from the passive. And every time she uses the A1. But only if the target's turn meter is below 50%. But still, this happens quite a lot. You can really heal a lot with Siphi. Now, the next one is also very well known, and that is Senna from the Dwarves faction, a Void Legendary champion, has a speed aura. And the crazy thing about Senna is that your champions will take so many turns because she is boosting the turn meter by so much that you will overlap the Chimera and just take turn after turn after turn. The only thing with this champion is that she's not really providing that much besides the turn meter boost. She has the AoE revive, right? And then an ally attack with the revived allies. But, besides that, she's not really doing that much. But it is enough to be on the list. Now we're going to talk about a few other ones that are mostly overlooked. But if you have those champions and they're your only option, then it's the best option for you, right? So let's take a look at the Demon Spawn and Preva. So Preva the Slitherer, very underrated champion. And the reason why is that she does something that no other reviver does. And that is transferring debuffs on the A1. And if you see this part right here, this effect cannot be resisted if this champion is under 3 or more debuffs. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind when I see this is the Viper form, because there we need to deal poison damage. Now, if you go into the Viper form will place poisons and poison sensitivity on your champions. So that means she will get 3 poisons, 1 poison sensitivity, and all your other champions as well. Now, if you take a look at the passive, it says, at the start of this champion's turn, transfers 1 debuff from each ally to this champion. Will not transfer control debuffs, and this effect cannot be resisted or blocked. So, at the start of her turn, she will take 1 debuff from each ally. And if she takes the poisons from each ally, we have 4 other allies on the team, you will have like 7 poisons on Preva. That means if you then now transfer those onto the Viper form, now in the best case it's going to be 7 poisons, and if you transfer them and then activate with your poison activation champion, or even if not, you're still going to get 5 to 7 poison ticks, right? And that is a lot. That is a lot of poison damage that you do on the first turn of the Viper form, and that is not to be overlooked. This is a very, very strong skill. And it's a A1, right? On top of that, she's providing 2 really important buffs for some trials, which is increased defense and increased speed. And then she's also healing. Very nice. As well as a revive. Unfortunately, is a single target revive, but she fully resets the cooldowns of all of their skills. This is a very amazing effect. Unfortunately, it is a single target revive, but it would have been a little bit overpowered if it was an AoE revive with a full cooldown reset. On top of that, she has a 20% all battle speed aura, which is also very nice. And if you pair her with the right support champions that provide block debuffs, she can be really, really amazing for specific trials. I actually started to build mine, and maybe I'm gonna use her in, the near future. Then another one I wanna highlight is Blind Seer. Blind Seer has gotten a rebalance lately, and she's healing all allies on her A2 by 20% of this champion's max HP. That is also very important because if you build her with high HP, she will, heal your allies by a higher percentage of their HP, basically. And then also places block debuffs, which is something that we all kind of want on our revivers. In that regard, she's kind of similar to Duchess and Siphi, but I would say a little bit worse than them. So she's providing the block debuffs for 2 turns and then also a shield buff. So again, shield buff on a reviver, very nice, as well as an AoE revive with a block damage for 1 turn. And this can be quite nice for the Ram form, for example. If you have no other way to deal with the damage reflect, this block damage can be quite nice. Now, the only problem that I have with Blind Seer is her A1. That doesn't really do anything for Chimera because it's just a turn meter decrease. So there are 2 other ones that were rebalanced. One of them is Reglin. This champion has a cleanse, increase accuracy, and increase attack on the same skill. It's a 4-turn cooldown and then heals all allies. And the value of the heal is proportional to this champion's attack and HP. Kind of interesting. I don't know how high this heal is. I don't have Reglin, never had her anywhere, never tried her. Also not after the rebalance, but I'm quite interested to see how high this heal is. Then she has a single target revive with 75% HP and 100% turn meter. This is actually a very nice revive, even though it's a single target. And then also decreases the cooldowns of all the ally skills by 3 turns. So kind of, a similar revive to Preva's, where Preva does a full cooldown reset. She just, decreases the cooldowns by 3. So very, very interesting. The combination of increased accuracy and increased attack on a reviver with a cleanse can be also very beneficial if she brings the, missing buffs and debuffs. Then the other one is the Ogryn that got rebalanced lately. Bellatar, Mage Slayer, has a pretty interesting A1, to be honest. Is not really helping with trials, maybe indirectly, but he has a 100% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill of the ally with the highest turn meter, except this champion by 1 turn. So there's a cooldown decrease on A1. I don't know how this works with ally attacks, but sounds quite interesting. Then he has an AoE attack, which places an increased attack and increased defense on the same skill on all allies for 2 turns, heals all allies, and then fills the turn meters. So turn meter boost on a reviver, a heal, 2 buffs. Amazing skill. Then he's reviving all allies with this skill. So AoE revive, places shield, and also places block debuffs. I don't know if he can use this skill if no ally is dead, but if he can't, I don't know if I like it or not, but even if not, it's still an amazing skill, right? Reviving all allies, shield on everybody, block debuffs on everybody. Oh, it's only shield on revived allies. So I guess he's only placing the shield on revived allies, which is not that great for the shield trial, but in general, he's still providing a lot of stuff. Cooldown decreases, and also this passive. So yeah, a lot of cooldown decrease. 4 buffs, 2 are kind of conditional. You have to revive, I guess, but still a lot of utility in this champion. And yeah, those are kind of the best ones, I would say. Obviously, like I said, that depends on your account, on your champions that you're using, on your team. I think, you can fit in pretty much anybody with the right team. For example, an Uko with a decreased attack on A1, decreased accuracy, block buffs, AoE revive, increased speed, block damage, a lot of utility as well. Speed aura, very, very great kit, to be honest, for Chimera, doing a lot of things, and that is exactly what you want, right? Or another good example is Glaycat, which has increased attack, perfect whale, turn meter boost, AoE revive, increased accuracy, increased defense. So 4 buffs, right, in total, turn meter boost. On top of that, he has the speed aura as well, and he's increasing the damage of your champions that are on the perfect whale. So yeah, like I said, the last ones that I mentioned here are good too. They just don't, perform that well at the moment because we are missing the fitting champions to pair them with to get a high amount of trials, right? Now there are 2 epic revivers that I want to talk about, and one of them is Ursula, which is a void epic, and she's also doing a lot of things. She has an AoE revive with increased defense and strengthen. Strengthen kind of helps you to survive, right? It's a nice damage mitigation skill for your champions, which makes the run safer, and increased defense is needed for one of the trials. But the cool thing about the skill is that you can use it even though if no ally is dead. But it's a 5-turn cooldown, so it's a relatively high cooldown. Then you have decreased attack and increased attack on the same skill. Kind of interesting, and I think for an epic, she does a lot of things, right? 3 buffs and 1 debuff on an AoE reviver, which is an epic, is kind of amazing. If she only did something else on the A1, but the turn meter decrease, she would probably move to the top of the list. And then we have another one, which is Silver Watcher's epic. This one right here with decreased attack on the A1. Unfortunately, it's not a 100% chance to place it, but a 60% chance on the A1 is still good enough. Then you have a turn meter boost, 15%, and an increased speed buff. Very interesting with a single target revive. That's kind of unfortunate, but still, you have a reviver with 1 debuff and a buff and turn meter boost. So a lot of utility on an epic champion. Recently, we also got another legendary champion, which I totally forgot, right? We got Frostmother. Not a bad champion at all. For Chimera, has weaken on the A1, block buffs, decreased defense, buff removal, and she has an AoE revive, which is kind of nice. Unfortunately, this pain link on her passive doesn't reflect enough damage to get the trial done. I think they need to rework the normal pain link because it's kind of pointless for Chimera because you just can't get enough damage reflected with it. So it doesn't really do anything. But if they get it fixed, or once they get it fixed, then I think she will become top tier. And also another mythical we can talk about real quick is obviously Theodosia. We got the heals, the turn meter boosting, we got the cleanse, perfect veil, stone skin, which could help you to survive the ram form and get the dual bar done. And then also AoE revive with unkillable. But not only that, if you swap her to the second form, that's where it gets really interesting with, protected debuffs, block buffs, decreased defense, decreased speed, and also she's destroying the speed of the Chimera. You can decrease it by 30, which is kind of interesting. And then you also have, a damage multiplier on the passive, as well as a 25% speed aura in all battles. That's really high. I think, for all battles, that's the highest one, 25%. So yeah, overall, there are a lot of revivers that are actually good for Chimera. They just have to fit in your team. You have to have the fitting components that are providing all the debuffs and buffs that you need to complete those trials. And I think the ones that I just mentioned are the best ones, right? Some are very situational, others just work better in general. But you definitely don't want to use, I don't know, someone like an Arbiter, right? Which is, I don't know, just provides an increased attack, turn meter boost, and the weaken. It's just not good enough. But if it's the best option you have, then it's your best reviver, right? Or another, not so great option is Kaya with a revive and then, increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and turn meter boost and block debuffs for 1 turn. So I don't know about this one. Doesn't really sound that great, right? Or another reviver that I wouldn't use is Ankara, which does basically nothing but a shield and a cleanse on a, with a single target revive. So not really made for Chimera. So yeah, to sum it up, bring a reviver who not only brings people back, but can also keep them alive, can debuff, can buff them, is providing survivability and is enabling trials as well. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite reviver? What is your go-to reviver for Chimera? I definitely have mine, right? It was Siphi before I pulled this guy right here, but I'm definitely going to try a few other ones, and I'm, really hyped about this one. I really want to try Preva, and as soon as I do, I will report back to you. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. It really goes a long way. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more raid content. The YouTube algorithm's going to suggest you a video that you might like right here, and see you in the next one.